Hey there, today I want to talk about flexiculture. Wait, you don't know what flexiculture is? Just kidding, I made up that term, but it could be a term that we could use. The idea that things on your farm need to be portable and flexible and modular and standardized. And these are things that have been really important for me in my farming over the last few years at my farm and also coming to Raleigh City Farm. So let's get into it. Well, one thing I found to be really important with my farm was to have things be portable and you can move things around because you don't always put things in the right spot. And that can be a real challenge if you have something that's a lot less mobile. And a great example, which I've mentioned before in older videos about my farm, is my high tunnel. I didn't put it in the right spot and I can't move it now because it's just set up not to be portable. And there are tunnels that you can buy that are super easy to move around, which are great. I think that's super helpful. I also put beds in the wrong spot and I had to move beds 25 feet away because they were too close to a tree, and that was a mistake I made. And one of the things that I think is important to not be portable are beds. I do like permanent beds for a lot of reasons, but mainly because that's really going to promote the best soil biology and all the no-till practices that I've talked about before in this channel. So that's the one thing I really think is important to be permanent. But other than that, like if everything else can be moved around, you can change your mind. If things go wrong, you can move them. If you want to change your irrigation, if you want to move a tunnel, all that kind of stuff. The other thing is, you know, for me, I moved a lot of my infrastructure and tools and stuff from my farm to here. And because everything was pretty much portable, you know, I basically set up my farm here. And that was a huge advantage. I didn't have to source a lot of things. Obviously, I saved Raleigh City Farm a lot of money by lending them my, my gear. And it's just been helpful. Another thing here is the standardization, and I think that cannot be overestimated enough. Everything on the farm is a 30-inch by 50-foot bed, and all the walkways are 18 inches. Everything is the same. So when you're talking about harvesting or planting or seeding or anything like that, you know, for the crew, it's all the same. It doesn't matter which bed you're going into, it's the same. And so, you know, some people made comments about like planting sweet corn in 30-inch beds, and it's like, well, those beds are gonna be used for something else. So keeping things standardized on your farm is super important to me. It just makes things a lot easier. And if we do get into things like, you know, row cover or insect netting, things like that, then if you grab you know, a section of that, it works on any bed. You're not like, oh, where's the 67-foot one? Oh, that one doesn't fit here. It only works on these beds. So I understand that, you know, everyone's farm is different, and sometimes you have weird sections where, you know, really the only way to maximize the space is to do weird things. And you guys all know your context better than anyone else. So, but if you're taking the time to lay out your farm, make sure you have things standardized. It's super important. Taking the time to standardize things on your farm, as I mentioned, helps you keep things portable and flexible, like insect netting and row cover. But another great example of that is irrigation. And this is something that's already come into play huge on the farm here. All the beds are 50 feet. So like, for example, all the drip lines are 50 feet. So if I need to move drip from one block to another block, I can use all the same fittings and all the same lines and all that kind of stuff. It's all basically the same. When we started the tunnel, I set up overhead in there because it was literally the quickest way I could get that set up when we needed to, and I already had all the parts, so I just did that. But we did switch that over to drip, and because we're gonna put some peppers in there later this week. But I was able to then take the overhead sprinkler system that was in there, these wobbler setups, and I put them out here. So this block here, this is block D. This is the block that we just planted to sweet potatoes. These have the sprinklers from inside the tunnel. And even the line that runs between them was the same line that I had in there because these are all 50-foot beds. So it really allows you to be super flexible and not have to buy too much stuff. And if you change your mind and say, well, you know, this was set up for sweet potatoes and we're doing overhead, but we want to grow, you know, peppers or okra or corn, sweet corn in this, you know, next year, like, oh, we could just put drip in here. It's no problem. We'll just pull this out. It's super flexible and mobile. Like these sprinkler system that I've talked about in plenty of other videos, and I'll put a link down below for my irrigation setup if you guys want to check that out at my old farm. They're just really easy to move around. It's just super powerful. Here's another example of a portable infrastructure setup. This is my Trellis system, which you guys have probably seen that video, but I'll put a link up here and down below. And these are actually the same parts that I had at my farm. I just took it apart and brought it down here. So we haven't strung these up yet. These are tomatoes, but super portable, standardized. I can put it in any field block or any bed. Things like that are just huge. You have that one investment and then you can use it anywhere. awesome. So we have all of our irrigation system out here is set up with timers, and it's also very flexible. None of the stuff was very expensive. These are just standard timers. I got these at Lowe's. They were like 50 bucks a piece. We use all these quick connect fittings for all this 3/4 inch irrigation line, and we changed things up. I mean, when we first started out, we only had 1 or 2 blocks, but we added on. So like, these are our 4 field blocks here. These are our 2 drip, our 2 blocks that are on drip, and we still have 2 more here. So a lot of flexibility here, and we can change things around. We can add other blocks, we can turn things on and off. You know, that flexibility is just, it's just awesome, super cool. Here's another example of portable stuff with irrigation. This little hydrant setup deal, this is just put together with PVC. There's like a TY thing here. We got 2 valves, one's for the timer here, and this is in the tunnel, and this was set up for the overhead, but we just added a filter and a pressure reducer, and now it's all set for drip. And then over here we left another hook up here for a hose just for watering. So this was actually located in the back of the tunnel before when we started, but easy enough to move it back here and set it up for drip now in the tunnel. So I'm staying in front of the tool shed here, and I made a video all about the tools that I use here at the farm. I'll leave a link up here and down below so you can check that out if you're interested. And the beautiful thing about, you know, being a small scale farm, being a human powered farm, using all hand tools and no-till stuff practices, that the tools are super portable. I moved all these tools in my car, and not a big deal. And they're just, you know, easy things to move around. And a thing that you also want to think about is if you're an urban farmer, and let's say you're either farming on someone else's land, or you're leasing land, or maybe you're not an urban farmer, maybe you're farming somewhere where you have a lease and you don't own the land, you know, you're not going to be there forever. And so whatever you can, you know, easily move from one farm to the other is important, especially if, like, you know, something happens and you lose access to your land. If it's something with your landlord, or they sell the property, whatever happens, like, if you can move easily, that's just going to be a huge advantage. Some other stuff that's portable and that I brought from my farm to Raleigh City Farm is some of the stuff on the wash station. So for example, the greens bubbler and the salad spinner, that came from my farm. You know, it wasn't mounted. We did build a new drying screen, but that was mainly because we needed a bigger one. But again, portable and flexible. I want to take a second to talk about the refrigerated trailer here. This is something that was at the farm here when I started. It was something they had invested in previously, but this is a great example. I mean, it's got a trailer hitch on it, and if you had to move to another farm, or you had to move it to a different location on your farm, it's super easy to move around. So another great example. Well, that's a lot of examples about things on a vegetable farm or market garden. I'm gonna take you guys home and talk a little bit about chickens and livestock. All right, well, I'm back home now, and the reason why I wanted to bring you guys back home now is to talk a little bit about animals, because we don't have any animals at Raleigh City Farm. And you guys probably know that I've had chickens at my property for a couple years now. And one thing that I've really fallen in love with and think is super important is mobile coops and mobile fencing. So this right here, that's a mobile chicken coop, the chickshaw, and that'll hold about 3 dozen chickens. I actually have a bigger one too that I'm not using anymore for when I had more birds. All this fence, this portable electric fence, is from Premier One. This is all portable fencing. I can move this around the property. You know, if I need them somewhere else to do work somewhere else, or I just want to put them somewhere else, I can. It's super easy and flexible, and you can move them around. And that's another part of just, you know, having a flexible farm, which is great. You can also do rotational grazing with other animals like sheep or cows. I don't have experience with that, but again, similar idea that you can move them around and have it flexible on your farm. So chickens are a little bit loud. Let me go move somewhere else. Well, those are a lot of the ideas that I wanted to get across today. And I want to talk about the term flexiculture, which is a term that I made up, but it really is a spin on permaculture. And I know a lot of you guys watching this, you know a lot about permaculture and probably have taken a lot of inspiration from it. And so have I. And a lot of the things that that I use regularly are things like work with nature, not against it, you know, observational based approaches, so observe and then react. And I think that if you take an approach of having things portable and flexible and standardized, then you're going to be very successful in that approach. Because when you start a farm, you don't always get it right. In fact, you get a lot of things wrong. No matter how much you can plan and observe and, you know, get advice from people and watch videos online, you're going to get some stuff wrong, and you're going to want to change things around. So the more flexibility that you can give yourself, I think, is helpful. So anyways, guys, think about flexiculture, right? Keep things standard, keep things portable, keep things mobile, make sure it's flexible on your farm, and you'll give yourself, relieve yourself of a lot of headaches down the road. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.